Welcome to Podcast Done For You, the show where we make it as easy as possible for you to make the right choices to advance your podcasting career. So let's get started on the show. Your competitors are podcasting, so why aren't you? That is the big question that we're going to ask and answer in this episode of Podcast Done For You show. And the reason that I bring that question up and the reason that I'm putting it to you right now, it's very simple. It's a question that I get asked all the time is, well, should I really be podcasting? Because there's enough podcasts out there already. And, you know, there is plenty of people in my area doing it. It's absolute rubbish. Rubbish, I tell you. First of all, let me start with the simple facts, and then we're going to get into some stories as to why it matters, particularly for you, and why it is such a great strategy. Firstly, let me just say to you this. There are 1.5 billion, that's right, 1.5 billion listeners to podcasts each and every month. They are listening to multiple podcasts, not just one. When you think about it, how many podcasts have you listened to in the past month? Look, I know I regularly jump in the car and have distances to drive because of where I live and where I need to get to. And I'm regularly listening to 2 or 3 every journey that I'm on. So, you know, it's not unusual for me in a month to have listened to 20 different podcast episodes, probably more actually when I come to think of it. So if I'm doing that, imagine how many other people are doing. Most people are listening to 2 or 3 a week. Multiply that by, weeks in the month. Multiply that by 1.5 billion people. And it's a heck of a lot of consumption of podcasts. Don't you want to be amongst them? That's the first question I'm going to ask you. The second thing is, which is the great myth about there being too many. I've heard this before. I remember last year having a discussion with someone who heads a rather large association with a bunch of businesses and saying, oh, podcasts, there's just too many of them already. We're moving on to the next thing. Like, there is no next thing, guys. There is no next thing. Podcasting is it. It is the thing, and we'll come back to why it is the thing in just a moment. But let me just address the simple fact that there are, at best, 225,000 active business podcasts in the world. That's right, active business podcasts. What does active mean? It means they've not become docile. I'm not counting those that didn't record an episode in the last 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it's been. I'm not counting those that have done, 1 or 2 episodes every now and then. I'm talking about regular, consistent podcasts that come out every week and that have been doing that for some period of time. There are only 225,000 of those in the world. Now split that up amongst different categories, and how many of your competitors actually got podcasts? Like, I did some numbers the other day on real estate, for example. It's a common space for podcasts, but in reality, in Australia, for example, I believe the number's around about 80, that there are around about 80 podcasts relating to real estate. Not all real estate agents, I'm just real estate in general, which is fine. But the reality is, how many suburbs are there in Australia? Even if you group that into, break it up by 3 or 4 suburbs, because agents generally don't cover that big an area, there's nowhere near enough podcasts to cover all of Australia, let alone the rest of the world. So there's opportunities there, and that's in what I would call a crowded space. Most businesses have very few competitors that are out there that are podcasting. Now, let's talk about a few simple ideas when it comes to that, because if you think about it, podcasting is a mechanism to get yourself out there and get known on that very basic level. We'll delve deeper into why it's so much more than that in just a moment. But what I want to say this to you is, you've got a website, don't you? I mean, most businesses have a website. You've got a LinkedIn profile, don't you? Why wouldn't you have a podcast? Why is a different rule supposed to apply to a podcast than it does to a website? I would argue the opposite is true. I would argue that it is absolutely compulsory to have the podcast. The website is just brochureware. I mean, let's face it, most websites are fairly dull. Most of your competitors are in and around the same sort of thing. You might have some better graphics or some better photos, things in there. You might have a little bit more text. But at the end of the day, it's text. It's not you actually speaking. It's not what you actually say. It's highly edited. Whether it's you editing it or someone else, it's been edited. Whereas when you've got a podcast, yes, there are some edits that go on, but the majority of it is just tidying things up. It's not actually changing the way you've expressed yourself. It's not changing the stories that you're telling. It's actually you. That's the value here. The reason your competitors are podcasting at the moment is because it's putting themselves out there. It's enabling people to get to know them and choose them over you. That's the problem. They're out there, you're not. So who are you going to go to? Because if I'm trawling through stuff and looking at a website or a LinkedIn profile, it is flat. The minute there is video there, the minute there is audio there, the minute there is a podcast there, I've got something more to latch onto. I've got an opportunity to get to know you before I actually get to know you. That's a powerful tool to have. More than that, it's a powerful tool to be able to share. And perhaps this is not the episode to go into all of the great things that are about podcasting, but needless to say that it is the only tool that gives to all of these other multiples of platforms. Like, you can turn a podcast episode into a LinkedIn post. You can't do it the other way around. Not easily anyway, and not with your genuine voice. You might get an AI to do it, but that defeats the whole purpose. You have an opportunity to stand out and to use the content from the podcast in multiple ways to filter social media and, yes, your website and newsletters and emails and articles and so many other things that we've talked about in previous episodes. The real question here is, again, why aren't you doing it? This is the best strategy. And I meant what I said earlier on. There isn't going to be something that is bigger and better than this. It's a bit like the old days where, if you remember, everyone used to say that video was going to kill the radio star. Love that song, by the way. But video didn't kill the radio star. Far from it. Radio is still as powerful as it has ever been. In fact, in Australia, it is still the number one station. The talk stations, I should say, is still the number one station nationally. Everywhere you go, there is a talk station that is the top of the tree. Why? Because people want to get to know other people and they want to hear from people live. It is a very different beast to so many other mediums. It is incredibly powerful. And yes, there's video as well as part of it. And we can have a debate another time, video or audio, but it really doesn't matter. Get the podcast out there. Because here's the thing, and the reason why I reference radio there, it's never going to get killed off. There is going to be other tools that we probably haven't even thought of right now. But how else are we going to be able to express ourselves to the many consistently? Well, podcasting is the answer. It's already economical. It's already something that you can do very easily. It's already something that there is plenty of ways to get support to do it. It's already a tool that gives to multiple other platforms, as I mentioned. There isn't any other marketing tool that gives in quite the same way that podcasts do. So again, your competitors are podcasting. Why aren't you? Well, let me talk to you about strategy as well. Here's the thing. We'll all sit down at some point and think about our marketing strategy. Most businesses do it with a degree of dread. They think, I know I'm just putting money and time into these things and I don't know if I'm going to get the results. It's why most people turn around and say, my business is built on referrals. But here's the thing. Referrals is marketing. That's right. If you are getting referrals, it is because you are marketing your business. Now, it might not be that you are posting somewhere, but you are talking to people, right? You're talking to people, whether it's clients, whether it's family and friends, you are marketing yourself every single day in different ways. And that particularly the way you treat your clients, is what produces stories, and it's the stories that get shared which ultimately see those referrals coming back. But if you sit and really work it out, referrals, while they may make up a significant part of your business, they're very difficult to control. They come in randomly and they are frustrating because you want them to happen more often. So you turn up at networking groups and other things and you hope to get more referrals. And you are doing marketing by turning up and doing those things, having those conversations. The beauty of the podcast is not only is it a great tool to turn up to a networking event and say, hey, why don't you just check out my podcast? So you're not selling anything. You're telling them to go and learn more about you because there's valuable information that you're giving, showing off you're an expert, making you a go-to person, making you someone that is very approachable, that they can feel like they get to know before they even get to know you. It's powerful in that vein. But it's also very, very powerful as a simple tool for people to be able to share. That's right, share. Because there is no selling in it. If you are enjoying listening to this podcast and you feel as though someone else might benefit from it, you're more likely to share a podcast on that simple basis, because you are not telling someone to go and buy from this person. You're telling someone to, hey, check it out. You might find this interesting. Equally, you might hear a story and you might want to share that story. Oh, I was listening to this podcast the other day and they were telling me this story or relating this story. Again, makes you more shareable, takes the emphasis off. It adds value to existing clients, which then go on to help share. How do I mean? Well, how many of your clients that you deal with, where you deal with one or two people, but not the complete entity, whether it's another business or whether it's a partner? I was talking to an accountant about this only yesterday, where the reality is when you're sitting with an accountant, there's usually two of you in that meeting, right? And one of you, whether it's a business partner or a partner in life, is kind of not really taking everything in, or they maybe don't come to the meeting at all. Not to mention the people that are on the periphery, whether it's the rest of your team, whether it's other members of your family who don't get to hear from you. Now, a podcast is not going to deliver that kind of level of personal details, saying, well, I'm just looking at your tax return and it says that. No, but in terms of the principles behind it that they're talking to, it is something that is very easy to educate your market on and add extra value to it and to explain it. I think I've mentioned this before in a different context. You know, I've got a podcast that I've done some limited series on called Being Comfortably Uncomfortable. You should check it out. It's a child psychologist talking about very real things that parents dealing with their children. Now, what's great about that is, and the incredible feedback that Andy's had with that, is that people that have listened to that show that are clients have been able to share it with family and friends and to say, this is what we're going through, you should check out this episode. Now, what happens to those people who also know other people that want to share that with and might have a child of their own going through some of those struggles? It is a very easy and simple example of how powerful this tool is. So I could rabbit on for a long period of time here, but I want to say to you this: it is the most powerful tool that exists in marketing because it gives to so many, because it is cutting through, because it is authentic. If you are not having a podcast in your business strategy, you are missing out. If you are sitting down right now planning your marketing strategy for the next 12 months, then make sure a podcast is on your radar. Now, I run regular masterclasses to talk to people in more detail about the value of podcasting and how to do it and how to achieve it. Of course, lots of episodes of this show are going to give you plenty of information about that as well. And of course, you can always check out the show notes, find a link to make a simple meeting with me. I'll happily have a chat to you about it and see what the next step in your podcast journey is. There are lots of options out there. There are lots of ways to help get it done so it doesn't take you a lot of time. Don't be overwhelmed by the prospect of it. Don't write it down as a marketing strategy that says, right, now I need to think about software, I need to think about equipment, I need to think about editors, I need to think about publishing, I need to think about promotion. No, you really don't. Okay? If you've watched some of my previous episodes, you'll know that that's not something that you have to worry about. And I'm happy to talk to you about it directly. Or, as I said, check out the other episodes of the podcast where we do delve into some of those things. You can just make it very simple. Have a conversation, and we help you make that possible, or we'll direct you into how you can do that if you want to really do it yourself. It's all about getting more podcasts out there. I want you to know that if you are a business, you need a podcast. If you want to build your brand, you need a podcast. If you personally want to build your expertise, you want to build your profile, you want more opportunities coming your way, you might be looking for a speaker's gig, you might be an author who needs another avenue to talk about their book or to expand it or to plan a book or to plan a training course or to go alongside of a training course, or simply because you have some insights and stories to share, you need a podcast. So, if you are watching this video to the end, the answer is yes. Get it happening. Do hit me up. Let's have a conversation. It costs nothing. It's free to do that. We'll talk about what your next step might be, give you some options that sit in front of you, and we'll go from there. And again, whether it's me just mentoring you and pointing you in the right direction, or whether you decide to come and work with us, I don't have a problem with that, because podcasting is a very friendly and open community, I should say. We're not competing with one another. We are simply there to give more information, to give our profile a boost. And whilst the internet is flooded with websites from every business under the sun, whether they're small, medium, large, just getting started, haven't done any business for a long time or ever, there's plenty of them out there. There's nowhere near enough podcasts to cut through all of that. So if you for a moment think that your competitors are podcasting, then why aren't you? The answer is yes, you will be podcasting. Let's make it happen. Well, that's all we have for this episode of Podcast Done For You show. I hope you've got something out of it. I really do welcome your comments and feedback. We love to hear that. Of course, we want you to subscribe, to like and share and do all of those things. Particularly share it with anyone that you know that is in business that hasn't got a podcast on their radar, on their agenda, or they just haven't found out how to make it happen. I'd love you to share it with them. All you have to do is say, hey, I was listening to this great episode. I think you might get something out of it. Have a listen. Thank you very much for doing that. We look forward to your company next time on Podcast Done For You show.